Hey guys, what's going on? Basin here, and welcome to another video here on the channel. Today, we're going to be starting a new series I'd like to call Ramble Reviews, and it's going to be a little rambly, as it says in the name, but it's going to be focused on games that I recently played and my thoughts on them right after I'm done, or maybe even a few weeks after I'm done if it requires me to gather my thoughts on the subject, and we'll just ramble about it here. I'm going to try to keep these videos semi-short, not too short, hopefully under 12 minutes, as I sit here and ramble and all that sort of stuff, because I think it's very interesting when I listen to reviews and stuff like that. I like to get raw emotions, raw thoughts, rather than this long-winded, like fancily cut sort of thing. So I'm going to try and limit the amount that I cut through here and everything like that, so you're getting my raw reaction, my raw thoughts, rather than this perfectly edited masterpiece that one might call. Of course, as I said, there probably will be some editing here at some point, but that's beside the point. Now, let's get on to the review for today. And as you can see in the title, today we're going to be talking about Scarlet Nexus. And this game, I've struggled with in terms of where I'm going to place this and where in the scale I'm going to place this and all that sort of stuff, because it's a game that is very, very good at what it is, but its expectations were much different from me, rather than coming in and stuff like that. So this game takes place in a future where there's these things called others. They're basically like these alien creatures that come down from this thing called the extinction belt, and you have to fight them and yada yada yada. There's a whole bunch of different things related to that in the story, and I'm going to try not to spoil anything here, so just giving you a general premise of what it's about. And I came in knowing that this was going to be a story about aliens and how the combat kind of looked almost not Dark Souls-y, but had that sort of feel to it as well. And I really don't like Dark Souls combat personally, but this game actually surprised me in the way that it did all this sort of stuff. And it has a cohesive story, unlike Dark Souls, where you follow these two characters and you learn their stories as they go through. That's the one first thing I should mention. The one big thing in the gameplay that I should mention is that there's two main characters. There's Kasane and there's Yuito. These are the two big characters in the game that you follow their path throughout. And it is important that you play both of their paths, because they talk about different things through each of their paths, rather than just being the same story twice. One's a guy and one's a girl. They each have their own separate paths and separate things that happen to them in the story that make this story cohesive. And if you were to just play Yuito, or you were just to play Kasane's path, like, it's an experience in itself where it is perfectly fine. So I finished this game in about 42 hours is what it says on Steam for me. So 42 hours is not it's a nice chunk of time here to put into a game. But after I was done and sat here and waited to think about what I was going to say about this game, I struggled tremendously, because when I finished, I wasn't a fan. I was like, I don't know what this game did for me that is making me think about this game so much, and why did it not fit my favorite types of games, because it had all the elements in it. You have really cool power-ups, you have really good combat, you have like this story element that you get to like talk to your squad mates and all that sort of stuff, which is exactly what I want in most games. And it just didn't, like, it did it, but it didn't do it to the extent that I really wanted it to. Or so I thought. And I think that that's the big thing here, is that this game took a while for me to realize how good it was at what it did. It was really, really good at what it was trying to do, and it just kind of it did it what it wanted to do, and I didn't see it while I was playing the game. And afterwards, it took me a while to understand that while the relationships are important and while understanding these characters is important, the focus is still on the story and everything like that. And I think the story has a really good ending and has a really good reach. Like, it makes you feel at the end, and you kind of like, even though the villain, you'll learn who that is eventually, even though you can sympathize with them a little bit, they didn't do it to a point where it was like, oh wow, like I feel really bad for the villain, I don't want this to happen to him. No, it still makes sense why he was a villain and why all these sorts of things happened and yada yada yada. So I think that the story is the main thing that kept this game going for me. I know I'm swapping around everywhere, but there's so many thoughts that I have written down here. The friendships, the characters in this game are one of the best things about this game. Not the stories that you get to have with them yourself as Kasane and Yuito, but the fact that they develop their characters throughout the story, as well as in these little tiny subsections of things. Like you learn things about like Hanabi and all these sorts of stuff, who's one of the characters in the game, or you learn about Gemma, and you realize what they're trying to do, why they joined the OSF, which is the army, or why they're fighting for what they believe in. And it's such a cool idea to like get different bits and pieces from the backstory, and then they mention it in the main story. Even if you didn't get to that part in the backstory, it's still prevalent in the main game, and you're like, oh, I wonder why they said that. And it's like, oh, watching the backstory there, I understand why that's happening. The voice acting in this game, really good. I actually thought it was one of the better voice acting games that Bandai Namco's done. It really adds to the story, and I really enjoy it. Now let's talk about the gameplay here. And the gameplay, whew, there's a whole bunch of different things that I enjoyed, but I also didn't like. The gameplay is fluid to a point. When you're fighting all these monsters and stuff like that, you have combos that you can do, of course, like XXY or XXXY later on. But when you finish a combo, it almost feels like you can't move for a few seconds after you're done the combo. And that's kind of one of the big things that I had an issue with in this game, was that I would do a combo and you would finish your combo, and then like you would start to move a little bit, but you couldn't swing yet because it was taking a while to lock on or stuff like that. And it kind of ruined the flow a little bit, but I'm willing to forgive that, because when you do the combos and you succeed in your 5-hit combo and Yuito or Kasane does this really cool thing, that kind of is what we wanted from this game, was we wanted cool combat, like that sort of stuff, because that's the main thing you're doing in this game is combat. And I think they really did a really cool thing with the SAS system and the way that the SAS works, where you can call in your teammates, you can call in and use their powers, you can call them in to like do a big hit or stuff like that. And as you level up these characters, you get more and more things that they can do for you. And it just, I think that was very well implemented in this game. Exploration, it rewards you for exploring, but not in the way that you might think it does, because it deals more with finding items that can help you, or healing items, or these little tiny things that called in like environment cubes, where you can trade them in to get like gifts for your teammates, or you can get all these sorts of different things for everyone in your party. And while it's great and everything, it just kind of, I don't know, you just kind of gotta walk around and find them. And sometimes if you're trying to get this one gift for Hanabi or Gemma or Kaido, you just can't it's like I have to go back to this area for just to get one environment thing, and you have to sit through a loading screen, you have to do all this sort of stuff. And yes, it's how the game works, but it's also frustrating at the same time. That's just a minor complaint here. So that's just the bare minimum of what I'm thinking about of this game right now. I really enjoy it, and I do recommend that if you're a fan of these sorts of games where it deals with like character development, but it also deals with like good combat and these cool new tactics that you're using, like then the enemies are kind of difficult. You have to like figure out ways to deal with specific enemies, and it does a really good job. Then I think that this game finds a really good audience there. I think this game finds an audience that is a mixture between different genres, like the Persona genre and the Fire Emblem genre and all that sort of stuff. Like that's super important to have these character developments happen while we're listening to this game, or while we're playing this game. I think that's really, really cool, because once again, that's one of the main things about those two games, is learning about the characters and connecting with them. And that game has this, but it also has the different sort of combat style than some people might be used to. So overall, I'm going to score this game on I'm going to do it on a 100 scale, but you can also put it like a point whatever if you want to do it on a 10 scale. I'm giving this game about a 83 in terms of my scale of things, because I think it succeeds in the combat. I think it succeeds in telling a good story. I think it succeeds in the characters as well, and the music. I forgot to mention the music. The music's really, really good too. It has like a really weird techno feel, but it also kind of like just kind of sits there and it kind of hypes you up a little bit. Like, I actually really, really enjoyed it. So it's gonna be sitting around there for me. And games that get in the 90s for me are games that I would recommend to almost anybody. There's a few games that are up there, and we're gonna be talking about one next Wednesday on the channel, and one of my favorite games of all time. It's actually number 2, I think, on my list. I think when I break everything down, because I do have a running list of games that I've played, and I'm kind of just pulling from them and replaying some of them at this point. But number 2 we're going to be talking about next week, and yeah, we're gonna play a little teaser here at the end for next week, a little bit of music and stuff like that, and I'll meet you in the outro. So I hope you enjoyed this video today, and next week we will be talking about Fire Emblem Three Houses and why that game is one of my favorites of all time. I just recently beat it, and so yeah, we're going to be talking about it next week. I hope you all have a fantastic rest of your day. If you liked what you saw here, please make sure you subscribe, hit that like button, put a comment below if you want me to play any games, and I'll ramble about them to you when I am finished. All right, once again, I hope you all have a great day. Tell somebody you love them. Love you guys. See you guys in the next video.